I did my undergrad in chemical engineering in Boğaziçi University in Istanbul, Turkey. Although I studied chemical engineering, my concentration was more on the polymer engineering side. So that's where I learned computational biology, because we were doing a lot of computational protein folding and protein dynamics. And then I joined, for my PhD, I joined University of Illinois at Chicago for a PhD in bioinformatics program, where I started studying first protein folding computationally, and then slowly moved to genomics. And then now I'm currently at the end of my postdoc at Yale with Mark Gerstein. We are part of computational biology and bioinformatics program, and also we are part of the molecular biophysics and biochemistry department. There are two sides to my research, but the majority of my research is about genomic privacy, especially functional genomics privacy. I look at the I statistically quantify the privacy leakages in functional genomics data, and then I come up with some solutions how we can share the data that are privacy preserving. And also recently I've been doing a lot of privacy preserving computation using some cryptographic techniques and blockchain. And then the other part of my research at Yale is more hypothesis driven computational biology, where how we can integrate multiple omics measurements to understand the biology of different tissues. So before I started my postdoc, I already had an idea in my mind that I am going to apply for K99 and have my independent funding. So my first application was on February 2019, and I started my postdoc at the end of 2016. So I didn't get it in my first application, and then I applied again in November 2019, when I got it. I propose to develop computational tools to assess the risk to privacy of the research participants when we share the genomic summary results. This could be GWAT summary statistics, for example. The reason why I propose that is that around the time that I applied for K99, there was a policy change at NIH. They used to not share the genomic summary results publicly, that people had to apply for control access. But then around the time I was applying, they made it more public, and then all the program officer that I talked to and also the other people at NIH were kind of curious about how this would affect, and then maybe there is more rigorous studies need to be done to understand these privacy leakages. So I thought that the work that I've been doing with functional genomics privacy could apply to that. So I propose sort of repurposing what I've been doing for this new data type. Yeah, so I had all my PhD papers out by the time I applied, which were 3 journal and 2 conference publications. They were all in computational biology. They were not related to genome privacy. And from my postdoc, I had 1 paper accepted, but it wasn't out yet. And also another paper was under review. So in my first application, one of the reviewers commented that I was productive in my PhD, but wasn't sure that if I was productive in my postdoc. But then in my second application, I had actually positive comments from the reviewers that they commented that I was productive in my PhD. So I think that even though it was a different topic, it positively affected my application. Shortly after I started my postdoc, I attended a NIH town hall where there were a lot of program officers from different institutions. They gave us talks about the funding opportunities. So I approached one of those program officers and pitched my idea, which was at the time very different than what I actually proposed. And then that program officer pointed me to another program officer who happened to be there as well. So I talked to her. And she was at NHGRI, and she really encouraged me to apply. So that's how I chose, actually. Yeah, so we actually worked on my specific aim with my mentor to make sure that what I am proposing is distinct from what he's doing, so that, because that's one of the important aspects of K99. So he worked with me on that, and once we were settled on a specific aims page, then I took over and wrote it. And his letter was very detailed. He detailed everything from mentorship, his mentorship to, you know, that the funds that are available to me, apart from the K99, and what kind of training he's going to give me, and how he's going to work with my co-mentor, who was also very supportive. He also went through my specific aim page. We discussed a lot of times, and his letter was also involved in, you know, training, what kind of training I will get during K99, and how they are going to support when I go on to academic job search. So I kind of made a list of the topics that requires me to get additional training, including some of the wet lab stuff. There was a lot of molecular biology involved that I needed training, and then there is also the LC component, because I do privacy and I needed someone who is in ethics. But I also talked to a person who was not from Yale, who had a K99 on genomic privacy, and I asked him what kind of collaborators he assembled. So he also gave me some tips on that. And then I looked at Yale first for the experts, and I reached out to them, and my mentor and co-mentor were very helpful because they were always involved in those emails. So I got experts from Yale, and then another expert outside Yale that we couldn't find at Yale, and everyone was very positive and responsive. And then in my first application, one of the reviewers actually thought that I didn't have enough statistics expertise given my proposal, and suggested actually a name from Yale. And then we reached out to that person as well, and he was very supportive. So I got an extra letter in my second application. So my first impact score was 30, which is I think at the border, so I didn't get it. My second impact score was 20. In my first application, I had a lot of criticism on my approach, where there were some of the stuff that I didn't really detail, and it was very helpful actually. And also some of the reviewers wanted to see more training in certain areas such as statistics and also ALSI. So in my second application, I addressed those, and then I got really positive comments, and hence the better score. She was giving me a lot of feedback on how to, you know, kind of reframe my specifics aims so that it will fit better with the NHGRI's mission and it's more clear. So she was extremely helpful, going back and forth with me. And then once we are happy, then I sit down and wrote everything. And then after I got my score, she told me that it's a borderline score, that she's not sure if I'm going to be funded, that she encouraged for a resubmission, which was a great idea, I guess. So and then she worked with me back and forth again for a response page, one-page response in the beginning of my application, where I put the response to the previous reviewers. So I am going to be an assistant professor at the Department of Biomedical Informatics at Columbia University, and a core member at the New York Genome Center starting January 2022. So I guess next steps are just try to be successful, a good mentor. They can definitely contact me for additional questions. And I guess my biggest advice would be to start early as possible. Do not wait to get a paper, because you don't have any control over how long a paper will take. But you know that there is a ticking clock on the K99 eligibility. So if you make a good case, I have seen examples of people getting K99 with no paper from their postdoc, and I think I'm one of those too, even though I had one small paper accepted. So definitely don't wait. I am actually hiring postdocs in computational biology. Anyone is welcome who are computationally savvy and who are interested in either genome privacy or in general, you know, integration of omics data, especially 3D genomics. I am also looking to hire a academic-minded software developer who will be also the lab manager. So if there are any viewers who would like to apply, they can find more details in my website.